We got the long snapper, Alex Harper, here, and for the first time, we'll welcome in a special teams coordinator, Andre Powell, to the program. Coach Powell, appreciate your time. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Hey, great. We appreciate you being here.
Good.
I know still getting to work in, even though it's the summer, and so we appreciate you joining us for a few minutes today. We'll get to know you and talk some special teams. But first, we got a regular. I hope Jamie's tuned in, because he's a Hoosier, and I'm looking at your bio here. Fullback at Indiana. What's a fullback, Coach? Do those exist anymore?
They died out with the dinosaurs.
But how about your time as a Hoosier there in the Big Ten? What was that like for you?
It was during the good years. We played for a championship my senior year. Came up a little short against Michigan State, but I was fortunate enough to be on the only team that beat Ohio State, Michigan in the same year.
Wow.
Got a big win down in the Horseshoe in Columbus. Just a lot of good memories there. That's
awesome. And I want to talk about your coaching career as well, because especially when I see the names at Virginia and then North Carolina, but Tiki Barber and Thomas Jones, he was one of the toughest SOBs I remember watching in the NFL. But you have been a lot of different places: Indiana, South Carolina, Army, VMI, Rhode Island, and then Virginia, North Carolina, Maryland, so on and so forth. How about your days? We'll go Virginia, because we were just talking with Coach Mack about Florida State in the ACC. Were you coaching when Virginia knocked them off for the first time in the ACC?
I got there the year after.
The year after that, okay. I remember watching that game. Yeah. But the Barber twins and, heck of some good players there.
I've been very fortunate to be around some good players. And, when you're around good players, you learn a lot from them, how they prepare, how they play. If you take the time to study how they play and how they prepare, then it helps you prepare for the next set of guys that you get. And I certainly learned a lot from Tiki Barber. Not only Tiki Barber, Thomas Jones. I coached receivers there for a couple of years. So there was Jermaine Crowell, who was a high draft choice. Terrence Wilkins, he's got a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah,
the Colts. Yeah. In fact, I talked to him just the other day. His nickname was Sweet Feet. He had some unbelievable feet. So Terrence Sweet Feet Wilkins. I talked to him last week.
Awesome. Running backs coach at Clemson with a guy named C.J. Spiller, who made you look pretty good.
Yeah, C.J., not only him, but James Davis and Andre Ellington and Jamie Harper and Chad Dill. I learned some critical things there from those guys, from the help of Tommy Bowden, because I got there after CJ's freshman year, and his mother was trying to get him to come home and go to Florida, because he grew up like 20 minutes from the University of Florida. And I learned a lot about how to manage players, in addition to coach them and get them going the right direction. But he was a guy that you had to deal with a little bit differently, because you don't want to take a chance on him going home, because there was not another one like him in the country.
I've had that conversation with coaches here recently, that you really can't treat everybody the same. You got to know them as individuals.
That's
right?
exactly what I learned from Tommy Bowden. You got to treat everybody fairly.
Yeah.
But you can't treat everybody the same, because they're not the same. Some people had an upbringing where they were raised differently, so they react differently. The important thing is, you can't show favoritism to one guy and then come down too hard on another guy in the same room.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult and tricky road to navigate.
Well, some guys you got to, handle with kid gloves. Alex, you can dog cuss him all day, Coach. He'll be all right.
He's tough like Old Boot, man.
Yeah, I like that. New nickname, Old Boot. Alex Harper here with us today. We'll talk about the ECU special teams in a moment. But, again, just going with your career. Taught a lot of coaches, too, that are you got to be versatile in the game. So why the move from running backs to special teams, Coach?
Well, I've been a special teams coach for a long time. And it's always been running backs and special teams, wideouts, whatever. This is the first time that I've only coached special teams.
Okay.
It's been really good for me. I remember back when I was running back coach, I felt very comfortable in that position. And the head coach asked me, Coach Welsh at Virginia, how would you feel about coaching wideouts? And I was like, whoa, that's it. That's different. But anyway, I agreed to do it, and those were 3 good years for me because it gave me a different perspective of the game. Previous to that, all my concentration was on those 4 big guys and the 3 linebackers. But it gave me an opportunity to get more involved with things that happen in the back end of a defense. So again, this has been fun for me, just coaching special teams, because normally I'm wearing 2 hats, and this has given me an opportunity to just sit down and just think through things very thoroughly, trying to get guys in the right spot, trying to come up with answers for almost every situation. And in addition to that, me knowing them really doesn't do a whole lot of good. I got to make sure my players
exactly.
understand, know why, what triggers the reaction. So this has been good for me.
Talking to Andre Powell, joining us in the Pirate Radio studios, and East Carolina is going to be just like they were last year in a lot of tight ball games. And when we're previewing these games that are razor thin, we always say a special teams play can make a difference. And I know you break it down, Coach, with the hidden yardage, and can you get an extra 5 on this return, or should you call fair, whatever? But the science behind it, every kick return, punt return, punt. I mean, it is such a huge part of the game that probably gets overlooked by a lot of people, right?
Sure it does. Normally people don't know the long snapper until he
We're trying to make him a star.
Well, they normally don't know his name until he throws a snap over the punter.
Exactly.
They know exactly who he is. But yeah, there's a lot of hidden yardage. There's a lot of ways, if you can just squeak out 4 or 5 more yards on each play at the end of the day, those yards show up.
Yeah.
6 inches doesn't make that much of a difference until you're 6 inches outside the upright on a game-winning field goal.
Very good point.
Or if you dive to block a punt, you're 3 inches away from getting your hand on the punt. So, we try to find a way to get all those inches and get guys to buy in. If you don't believe you can get it, you're not going to get it.
Alex?
People have no idea how much preparation goes into special teams, Coach. I know you spend a lot of hours in the office watching film. How are you going about preparing for teams that are on the schedule this year? Are you just starting with Norfolk State for a special teams unit, or have you kind of covered everybody on the schedule for 2024?
I've studied Norfolk State. Now Norfolk State has a new special teams coordinator who has not coached special teams as a coordinator since he coached for Brent Thompson at Citadel. You have to be flexible for that game, because you kind of figure, okay, he may do what he did at Citadel. He may do something else. I've studied ODU. I've studied Liberty. I've studied App State pretty extensively. The other teams I've newsreeled just to kind of get a feel for what specs they have coming back, their return guys, their field goal percentage, if they blocked any punts, if they had any fakes. And not only if they had any fakes where they are, if they had any fakes that the special teams coordinator at his previous school. So just collecting those things, making a library. What we do is not very difficult. We've got a format of how we do things, and it's easy to plug things in and out once guys understand the conception of what we're trying to get done.
I know going to previous practices, and we go like to the end of those practices, and you've got the kickers kind of off on the side kicking, and maybe guys punting on the side field. But how about during a game week, Coach? How much time do you get with the specialists practicing kickoff, punt, field goal, all that? How much time do you get a week?
Well, obviously this is my first time through with Coach Houston,
right?
Here, so there's always some adjusting to the schedule. Just talking to him a little bit, because we have the schedule. The one thing that I'm going to get that I haven't had in the previous 9 years is 30 minutes of special teams time on Sunday.
Okay.
My previous stop, we didn't go on the field Sunday or Monday. So I always felt like we were behind a little bit. So to get those 30 minutes would be huge.
Is that cleaning up the previous game, looking ahead, both?
A little bit of both.
Gotcha.
It's just working fundamentals. Maybe the fundamentals you didn't do well in the previous game, or fundamentals that you're going to need in the upcoming game. And just fundamentals that you need. Maybe some guys that they start the season, they're third on the depth chart. Well, in about 3 weeks, you get a couple guys nicked up, they're starting. So it'll give those guys to get chances to get turns at base fundamentals. They may not get a turn during the week in terms of the game plan, but if they get those base fundamentals, that when and if we need them, they're easy to plug in.
Andre Powell joining us. Alex, you got something? No? Coach, you obviously coaching all the formations and things like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see you like lining up to kick a field goal to show your kicker how to do it.
No.
So
no.
When it comes to those guys, are you like a mental coach, or what are you coaching when it comes to?
It's a lot of just facilitating. Making sure it's a long season, and people don't understand the torque and the pressure that's put on your body by kicking. Just kick the ball. But you got to make sure you don't overkick.
Yeah.
We'll count kicks during the week. We'll make sure we rest guys. But it's some things, you look at the tape, and when things aren't going well, a lot of times you can ask them, what happened here? Mm-hmm. And then they can tell you. The other thing is, most NFL teams don't have a coach that specializes in the art of kicking,
right,
snapping. So all these guys got here, they have a coach. They had a coach in high school. They had a snapping whisperer. All right, so we rely on those guys. They'll send the tape to their snapping coach or their kicking coach, and we'll look at it through FaceTime, and we'll get a feel for any area that we can improve in there.
I guess, Alex, you and Trip Smith and the guys are coaching each other as well, watching each other.
Coach touched on it a little bit. It is a collaborative effort. We're going on the field, especially at this time of year for OTAs. Kicks and snaps are being charted. Coach Powell is going over the film with us. He's encouraging us to send tapes to like our instructors if we have like a personal coach.
Yeah. Serious question, Alex. Like, how can you get better as a long snapper? What can you do to get the ball back quicker, to get it where it needs to go?
Well, the biggest thing is consistency with snappers, especially like putting the ball in the same place every single time. So you can go over drill work over and over again. Snapping, for OTAs is huge, getting prepared for the season. A lot of accuracy drills, because I compare being a specialist to like a golfer or shooting a free throw. It's the same mechanic every single time. The closer you can get to perfection with your mechanics is how you get better.
Yeah. I remember Jason Nichols saying last year he wanted his kicker to have a background either in golf or basketball, shooting a free throw or putting, where it's just you out there and there's pressure on you. And it makes sense. The
specialist room is the best position room in golf. We got some good golfers in it. Not me really, but Luke Larson is a very, very good golfer.
And Alex talked about consistency, Coach. It's a whole operation. It's easy for us to see a field goal's missed and to blame the kicker, but it's not always the kicker. It could be the hold, the snap, gets tipped because a guy didn't block a guy. So, man, there's a lot that goes into it.
There's a lot that goes on him. He touched on accuracy. His job is on field goals is to give the ball to the holder. It's the holder's job to catch it, spin it if he needs to, put it down, tilt it the right way. And it's the kicker's job to get lined up properly and then kick the ball properly through the uprights. So if Harper is off, right, then the holder has to do more.
And while all that's happening, guys are 300-pound guys are trying to rush through to block it. So,
and besides that, we got to get it done in 1.28 seconds.
Yeah. Do you time everything?
Everything's timed.
Constantly.
Everything's timed. I mean, where we place the ball, it's all based on how long we can protect.
Right.
Yeah. So it's all timed out.
Coach, with all your stops, have you ever run into East Carolina? I know you were with North Carolina in 2001. Did you play against the Pirates?
Played twice.
Okay.
Played at Carolina once, played over here once.
Was the Carolina game, I think Art Brown might have fumbled into that was a tight game.
On a kickoff return.
Yeah. and then
touch back into the end zone. Yeah,
and then played here when both teams were like 0-4 or something, 0-5.
It was not pretty.
But North Carolina won. I do remember that. Yeah. But what all do you know when you see East Carolina football? Any players' names come to mind, or anything come to mind for you?
That running back that played with the Titans. Holy cow.
Chris Johnson.
Oh my gosh. Then, of course, I mean, I'm awful with names, but the quarterback,
David Garrard. Yeah.
Those are some great players. And then when I was at Carolina, to be honest, when they were terrified to play East Carolina, because East Carolina had some dudes, and so they were always afraid to put them on the schedule.
Yeah.
And it's a team that. Based on what I've seen since I've been here, it's just like I thought. It's a bunch of hard-working, hard-nosed dudes that football is important to them, and you can tell anytime you play a team like that, it's a tough out.
Casey Kelly said something interesting. We'll air the interview coming up at 5, new tight end at East Carolina, and I said, you weren't here last year, but the offense really struggled, and they go 2-10. I mean, do you even look at that? And he said, well, I'm here now, so that's part of me now. I'm East Carolina. That happened to East Carolina last year. We got to go about fixing that. Having said all that, how much have you looked at what happened before you got here at the 2-10 record and looking back at last year?
Well, I've spent all my time just looking at plays.
Yeah.
I can't fix the record, obviously. So I just study how we went about doing things and how it would look if we did it the way we're going to do it. And that's the way I've spent my time.
Okay. Yeah. Coming up, hour number 3, Bryce Williams will be here. We always go Pirate Radio Outdoors. And I understand Coach Powell is a big fisherman.
Oh, yeah.
And even took old Alex out fishing last week. I didn't see y'all fry anything up for me, so y'all didn't bring nothing home?
He had a great question for him. He was fishing a frog. And he asked me, does the frog always supposed to stay afloat? I'm like, but I think you might have one on right there.
So how'd it go, gentlemen?
That was a 3-hour boat ride. That's what that was. We didn't catch a single thing.
Some good conversation, hopefully.
Yeah, great fellowship.
The Tart River has become a little stingy as of late.
Oh yeah, not giving you what you need. There.
Oh yeah.
But what else do you enjoy doing in your spare time, Coach?
That's pretty much all I do, other than family things. We coach, we fish, and I've got a wife that's a coach. She'll be moving here a week from Thursday, and I got kids that they're pretty much grown now, so I've enjoyed watching my wife's teams play. And that's pretty much it. Pretty simple life.
Yeah, you don't really think about that with the coach moving from spot to spot. You got to get that family in here, so that'll be good to have your wife back here. And you enjoying Greenville so far?
I am. This is a really nice town. I mean, again, I've only spent one night here when we played here, and I'm not even sure. I think we probably stayed in Raleigh and drove over.
Right.
But it's a nice town. Folks are friendly. Weather's fantastic. Thank goodness for that breeze we get every day. I hope that continues. It's just my wife hadn't been here, so I get on the river 2 or 3 days a week for a couple hours. The river's close, 10, 15 minutes I can back in.
Good deal.
So it's been nice. I've really enjoyed it.
What do you have a favorite stop that you've been throughout your coaching career? Could you name one or?
To name one,
too tough.
It would be unfair. I tell you this, there's I won't name, but obviously it's been something that I didn't enjoy.
Okay.
But all the places that I've been fortunate enough to coach at have had really, really positives. I go back even to the days of Rhode Island. They were fantastic. Virginia was nice. Carolina was nice. You've
been in some great programs too.
I've been very fortunate.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Who's got the best fishing spot?
North Carolina is the state that has the best fishing. And the thing is, like Lake Erie's in 3 states. Lake Erie's world class. But I think Jordan Lake, Falls Lake, Carr Lake, Lake Gaston, High Rock, Wiley, Norman, all the rivers right here.
You know them all.
He knows his stuff, man.
And were you at Maryland, Coach?
I did. I coached that 4 years.
Okay. Did you go crabbing, I guess, in Maryland or what?
You know what? No. Now listen, my favorite river in the world to fish is the Potomac.
Okay.
It's fantastic. But I was never into eating crabs and all that stuff.
Okay.
I mean, them crab cakes are expensive, and
True.
I think it's a little bit overrated, really.
Overrated. All right. You mentioned earlier C.J. Spiller and him perhaps wanting to go home and getting homesick and all that. If the transfer portal was a thing, then it'd have been a lot easier for him to do it, and it might have been a different story.
Yeah.
How about the world of college football today compared to, back when you played, but also when you came up as a coach? Is the athlete generally the same, or has it changed so much you don't even hardly recognize?
The athletes have changed, and guys my age, they say, they wish it was back like the old days, but it's really changed for the better. Athletes are bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. We know how to take care of them better.
Yeah.
So that's all positive. As far as the transfer portal is concerned, what the transfer portal has turned into is not what it was meant to be.
Right.
It's turned into something else, and the thing that's made it worse is NIL. Those things make it difficult because you could have one of your rivals with a couple of guys that've got deep pockets, and they could literally buy your players. But I do think players deserve to be compensated a little bit. I think it's gone way beyond what's reasonable,
right?
What's sustainable. But I do think they deserve some type of compensation.
Yeah, we have Greg Hudson, former ECU defensive coordinator, joins us every Thursday, played linebacker at Notre Dame, and he talks about the amount of his teammates that are no longer here because of the head injuries and the things like that. And I got to imagine, Coach, you being a fullback back in the 80s, you probably had several collisions. And one thing for the change, some people say soft. Coach Hud said is smart, just the player safety and things like that.
Going over the training camp schedule, 3 a days, 4 days, 2 a days. That's ridiculous because sometimes coaches get the idea that the more is better. And really, not until recently the coaches really grasped the whole concept of, hey, recovery is a part of training. And you can't expect to go out and win a game on Saturday if your boys are banged up and worn out. So there's a fine line between doing too much and not enough.
Being efficient with your work.
Yeah.
A-Harp doing all right out there, Coach?
Harper, I've been pretty pleased with him.
Okay.
He's improved since the spring. His attitude has been more businesslike. He has thrown the ball back to that punter and holder really well. Again, we're trying to make it where it's near perfect. The operation, we're trying to make when that holder gets the ball, he has to do very little to get it down. Or when that punter gets the ball, he can stay in stride. The punter's trying to catch it with a little momentum, and we don't want it thrown over here and down here to take his focus off. So he's been really good.
I appreciate that. I'm trying my best.
Now,
when y'all go out the room, you can cuss them out or whatever.
No, we don't do too much cussing. We don't do too much yelling. It's more teaching again.
Teaching.
Yeah, we got grown men, and it's
especially with the COVID year, right? You got some old mid-20s guys, and hell, the punter's 35 years old or whatever. Luke Larson.
For 32.
30.
He is, I believe he's 30. He may be 31 now.
Yeah,
but he is definitely in his 30s.
Yeah. That's different.
Yeah, it is.
Coach, really enjoyed having you. Appreciate you joining us today. We'll might talk to you again on Media Day, but have a great fall and rest of your summer as well. Hopefully, the wife gets here and you guys get a little time off in July, right? Maybe you can.
Yeah, she told me today what we're doing on vacation.
Okay. There you go.
We'll be rolling out here in a couple of days.
You got your orders, so there you go.
We going to get to go fishing again before camp gets here?
That's a negative.
Wow. Sorry, no more time for you, Alex. Coach, thank you so much, man. Great to meet you.